I hope to live up to the hype. First of all, this is an awesome space, and I mean, I think for me, robots are a conversation about technology, and a conversation about technology is this, and the best way to learn about things is to dick around with them. You know what I mean? And that's how everyone I work with learned about technology, was by playing with it when they were young, whether it was an Atari or a Commodore, or some wires and tearing apart a stomper truck to make a tattoo gun or whatever, right? We all mess with things, and I think that this gives somebody the experience of being able to experience that in an environment that is that helps them out. So, as mentioned, God Hates Robots. God Hates Robots is an experimental art gallery that we just opened 2 weeks ago. And we're really excited about it, and it has nothing to do with technology inherently. It is an experimental art gallery that's focused on showing work from emerging artists and experimental work from established artists. We've set up a couple of house rules for the gallery to make it fulfill the goals that we have in mind. The house rules are pretty simple. Locals only. We only deal with local artists. That's partially because I don't know who else I would contact, but it's also a part of building a community, and that's what one of our missions is to build a community around, build and support the local arts community. Nothing in the gallery is over $400. We believe in trying to make art a little bit more accessible, and we believe that experimental art maybe would benefit from having a lower price point. Getting people to experience art and getting people to own art is an interesting thing, and it can facilitate them buying more pieces and becoming collectors. And finally, we support artists by giving 80% of our sales to artists. Most galleries have a 50-50 commission structure where they retain half of the sales. We're not a traditional gallery, and so we can establish different rules because we don't have to. We're not in the same game. God Hates Robots is one of 3 companies that my partner Ray Childs and I operate together. They all cover our. They're based around our interests and our passions. Our passions involve music, which is our ticketing company, 24tix.com, technology, which is Bottle Rocket, and art, which is God Hates Robots. I want to talk a little bit about my first introduction to technology and where the first time I saw creativity and technology come together. When I was about 20 years old, I got my first job that I was really excited about. I dropped out of college for the first time, and there's 3 of those. I dropped out of college for the first time, and I ended up landing a job as a pre-press technician at a print shop. And a pre-press technician, I don't know if there's a lot of people that maybe even experienced that in this room, but back in the day when you wanted to get something printed, you sent it to a pre-press shop, they made film, they took the film, they laid the film up, and they burned plates, and then you made printing, offset printing. And I was super excited about it because I really loved design, and I really loved being a part of just a manufacturing process. I love watching things happen. I love to learn about how things come together. And this little machine right here that looks kind of like a robot, it actually has little legs too, so you could wheel it around. This machine is called a Linotype 330. And this was the machine that I interfaced with on a daily basis to squirt out film. So I'd send files to it, and it would generate film, and it was super awesome. And it was even more awesome is it's a very manual process, so it squirts out film, and then you take that film to a film processor, and it runs through these things, and it was great. and because I worked for the worst printing company in the entire state of Utah, I learned a lot about printing because not a lot of what we did could come out of this machine. So you got a background of other things. Prior to digital prepress, this is madman. I actually don't know. I really don't know how the full process of how mechanicals became printed products. But we see a little bit of it from television and other things. But I know that there was paste up and there was transfer letters and there were other things and there was a lot of film that needed to be manually created. And so the digital prepress really moved everyone away from these much more manual processes into a digital world. And in that process, I got to become familiar with a suite of software packages that allowed any designer to do anything that they wanted to do. You could create multi-page layouts, you could control text, you could reflow text, you could use any font you wanted, you could change images, you could airbrush things. And again, as a prepress technician, I became a master of all of these little bits and parts. The software, to me, seemed to be the thing that made design. It seemed as easy as booting up the piece of software and clicking the little button, and beautiful things came out. I mean, not always, but a lot of the time, it seemed as though the software was doing the job for us. And as a prepress technician, I also had access to all of the fonts in the world, so I could make something look nice, or I could make it look really nice by putting it in small caps, or I could use an exciting font to, really express what I was trying to say. But what I didn't understand is that I had confused technology with creativity. I was using a tool, but the tool was simply that. It was a tool to do a job, and it inherently did not create creativity, and it certainly didn't create good design at all, frankly. And for most of us, that's what technology is. It's a tool. We use it every day to do specific things. Technology, in and of itself, has little value. If I say I've got technology, you say, what does it do for me? It really exists to solve specific problems. Many years later, I am now a partner in a software development company, which is a funny thing because I'm also not a technical person. For most people, technology is a black box. You can insert a problem into the black box, and if everything works out, you're going to get an answer on the other side of the black box. That timed perfectly. And if you don't get the answer you wanted out of the black box, it was a problem with the black box. It was a situation where the black box did something wrong. When in reality, technology isn't inherently a problem solver. Technology is merely a mechanism for solving problems. Again, it's a tool. And technology, and specifically writing software, the biggest challenge that we have is understanding the problem that we're trying to solve. A lot of times we're presented by clients with a solution to a problem, but they're really misunderstanding what the problem might be. They can't see the forest for the trees, as it were, and when they present a solution, you can easily kind of break it down and say, wow, that's an interesting solution, but you might have a better solution to this problem with technology. And this black box is the heart of an uncaring robot who performs functions, just solely performs functions and doesn't solve problems. Isaac Asimov in the 40s penned the 3 laws of robotics to protect us from robots. These fictitious laws are referenced all over the place. They're sort of the archetype of how a robot should be. The laws state that a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. A robot must obey the orders given to it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. And a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second laws. Great. All of the laws, though, are based around this concept. They're self-reflective, and they wouldn't exist without humans. 70 years later, we have robots. We've got all kinds of robots. We've got toy robots, and we've got manufacturing robots, and we've got these scary-looking military robots that probably do terrible things. We've even got robots in the home, right? So you've got a little robot that goes around the house and it vacuums the floor. But none of these robots have the technology that would allow them to be defined by Asimov's laws. We don't have enough, technology hasn't come far enough to have the artificial intelligence to let this Roomba know whether your leg is your leg or if it's a table leg. It doesn't care. It's a black box. Again, the technology just isn't there. What happens is we as technical people give it a fake heart, right? We make it pretend like it understands the world that we live in and make it pretend like it understands the problems that we're trying to solve. And that brings us to God Hates Robots. God Hates Robots began with a real world problem that we were trying to solve, and it was inventory management. And I know that doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like a big technical problem, and it certainly doesn't sound like an art gallery problem. But inventory management was a real situation that a friend of mine was struggling with. My friend Trent produces a ton of art. He has art everywhere. His studio is full of art, and it's really well categorized. He can find almost anything in there at almost all the time. But he's also got art at my office and my friend's house and some other places and in some galleries. And at some point in time, he kind of got overwhelmed with the idea of where his work was and wanted a mechanism for helping to find it. And one day he sent me, this is actually a screen capture of the YouTube video. He sent me a video that he found online that was a woman who was explaining how she uses Excel to solve this problem. And it was great because, again, she's not even just like a camera set up in front of a computer, right? But again, what is the problem? The problem is in inventory management. We know how to manage inventory. We've managed inventory for hundreds of years before there were computers. We got ledgers, right? We know how to manage ledgers. And when a computer comes along, we can turn that ledger into a spreadsheet. And a spreadsheet, again, it exists. The woman was managing her art inventory in Excel, and it works out just fine. The real problem, though, with Trent's issue was a human issue. So we've got this black box again. We're looking at the black box saying, well, technology, how do you solve this problem? But again, it really is a question of how do we as human beings address the real problem that exists. Art is a very interesting thing. Artists reflect on their art differently. They want to manage their art differently. They have different concepts about how they feel like their bits and parts should be accounted for. From this conversation, we started developing a tool we call AIM. AIM is an inventory manager, but calling it just an inventory manager wouldn't really get across what it does. AIM system is really a mechanism that allows us to give artists business tools to not only manage their inventory, but to manage their sales, to create collections of work, to create galleries for other people to look at work, and to manage accounting for their basic art needs. And art's exciting. And as we started working through this project, we started to learn more about what art means to us. As technical people, we can sit around and we can talk about how we might want to manage these works and different mediums and different substrates and all sorts of other things. But art itself is such a personal experience. And it's something that is tangible, and it's something that's textural, and it's something that when you see it, you can start to feel it, and you can start to get involved with the process of creating it. And when you own art, you get to see art in your own environment, and you start to be able to see it in the morning and at nighttime, and you get to see it when you're happy and when you're sad. You get to start to really make the art a part of your life and part of your circumstance, and you can talk about it, and you can talk to your kids about it, and you can talk to your friends about it. It becomes just a totally different thing. This is a piece that's from our opening show by Fletcher Booth. Art is a little bit more about free-form expression, and it's not something that technical requirements can really wrap their heads around. And again, as we started to build this management tool for artists, we started to realize that we wanted to be more involved with the process of handling art and again, having it as a part of our world. This piece by Paul Heath. This is a print by Camilla Taylor that's hanging in the gallery. And we also decided that one of the other things that we were concerned about is that while we were trying to create a community of information online, that we were ignoring the community of reality, which is the community that's around us and is every day. So we wanted to build a space where we could show work and be a part of that and help to build, again, this community, this Utah arts community. We created a mission. Our mission was to seek exposure for artists and new artists, again, and emerging bodies of work. We wanted to promote artist profitability and financial sustainability. This sounds really businessy, doesn't it? But the reality of the situation is, I think it's easy to devalue the concept of being an artist. It's not a sustainable lifestyle model, if you will. But art is important. Art is important for society, and we think that we should be able to help promote that as a concept. And finally, we want to encourage people to art purchases, specifically from first-time buyers and from peers. It's often challenging for peers to begin owning art, and it's certainly challenging to become a first-time art collector if the first time you walk into a gallery you're faced with a $2,000 piece of art that may not be available to everybody. Here are a couple of pictures of the gallery that we opened up. We just had our first show. It was a great 18-person show of a Karate Champ video game in the middle of the gallery. It was an experiment as a gallery. It is an experiment as a gallery, but it's also an experiment in the real-world application of technology with human goals in mind. Again, starting with the real goal of managing inventory and converting that into this concept of really bolstering a community and being part of a community. Technology isn't magic. And again, I personally, as somebody who works in technology all day long to some aspect, I feel like technology, again, is nebulous value. It might feel magical to this guy, though. He looks like he's pretty excited about it. Creativity isn't magic, but they're both efforts and innovations. They're both based on the same level of kind of human innovation, right, and human creativity. The ability for human beings to solve a problem and do something that, again, that doesn't have a little steel frame around it, but has a little bit of a heart in it. Whether the goal of creativity or technology is mundane, like vacuuming a floor or creating an ad, or something as complex as conveying an emotion, technology, art, creative communications, they're all a part of the same human effort. We live in a world that's surrounded by technology and robots, and we certainly can't avoid interacting with them. That little guy over there is just doing stuff right now, and it's awesome, right? They're around us all day long. He might not be a robot, but for our purposes. But we can avoid, to some extent, the concept of becoming robots ourselves simply by remembering that we live in a real world and we're surrounded by real people.